He used to look at you like you were his entire world. He texted first, he wanted to see you, he couldn't stop touching you, and you could feel the connection. But now, something's different. The messages take longer. The voice sounds colder. The energy feels off. It's like the man who once chased you suddenly turned into a stranger. Distant, quiet, distracted. And here's the part that drives every woman crazy. He won't tell you why. He just says he's been busy, or that nothing's wrong. But you can feel it. Something changed. You start asking yourself what you did wrong. You replay the last conversations, the last date, the last night together, trying to find the exact moment he started pulling away. You wonder if he met someone else, if he's losing interest, or if you somehow ruined the connection. But here's the truth most women never realize. When a man suddenly grows cold, it's almost never because of something you did. It's because of something he's feeling, something buried deep inside the male ego. You see, men are not as emotionally complicated as they seem, but they are psychologically fragile in ways that women can't always see. They hide behind silence, pride, and logic, but underneath that armor are insecurities they'd rather die than admit. And when those insecurities get triggered, the switch flips. He goes from warm to distant, from affectionate to cold, from loving to acting like you mean nothing. If this has ever happened to you, if you've ever felt a man's energy vanish overnight, you're about to understand exactly why. Because when a man suddenly grows cold, it's not random, it's not bad timing, and it's not love fading. It's about 3 truths that every man hides behind his ego, 3 truths that silently control his behavior, his attraction, and his emotional distance. Most women never see these truths because men are experts at pretending. They can look calm while they're falling apart. They can say, "I'm fine," while their ego is screaming. They can walk away from someone they love just to protect a part of themselves they don't want anyone to see. But once you understand these hidden truths, everything changes. You stop blaming yourself. You stop chasing answers from someone who can't even face his own emotions. And instead you start to see his distance for what it really is, a reflection of his inner battle, not your worth. So before you decide that he doesn't care, before you assume it's over, listen carefully, because what I'm about to share with you will reveal how a man's ego works when love starts to feel too real. And once you see these patterns, you'll never see male behavior the same way again. Imagine this. Everything seemed perfect. The connection was strong, the chemistry was real, and the way he looked at you made you feel safe, like he wasn't going anywhere. He said things that made you believe he was different, and maybe he was. Until one day, he wasn't. It starts subtly. He doesn't call as often. His replies get shorter. The affection you once felt through every word, every touch, every look, it's gone. He's not cruel. He's just distant, like his heart has quietly stepped back while his body stayed. You ask if something's wrong and he says, "I'm just tired." You ask if you did something and he says, "No, you're fine." But the truth is, deep down, you know you're not fine. Because no woman imagines that kind of shift. You feel it. You sense it before it's visible. You start thinking maybe you came on too strong. Maybe you said something that pushed him away. Maybe he lost interest. You overthink every word, every reaction, every silence. You tell yourself to act normal, to give him space, to not make things worse. But the more you hold back, the colder he becomes. And soon, you're stuck in that confusing place, where you're still together, but it feels like you're the only one trying. This moment, the sudden emotional distance, is where most women lose themselves, because they think they have to do something to bring him back. They chase his attention. They try to be softer, more patient, more understanding. But the real reason he's pulling away has nothing to do with your words, your tone, or your behavior. It's not that he's bored or that he stopped loving you. It's that something inside him, something his ego can't handle, got triggered. Men aren't taught to deal with emotions the way women are. They're taught to control them, to hide them, to never look weak. And when a man starts to feel things that challenge his control, vulnerability, attachment, fear of rejection, his ego panics. That panic doesn't look like fear. It looks like silence. It looks like "I need space." It looks like emotional distance. Because in his mind, getting close means losing power, and losing power means risking pain. So instead of facing what he feels, he withdraws. He convinces himself he's just not in the right mindset. He'll say he's confused, or that he needs to figure things out. But what he's really doing is protecting the only thing that's ever made him feel safe: his ego. It's the invisible armor that keeps him from admitting he's scared, insecure, or deeply affected by you. Because to admit that would mean surrendering control, and that terrifies him more than losing you. This is why some men can't handle deep emotional connection. They crave it, but once they feel it, they back away. They fall in love, but they act like they don't. They want to stay, but they convince themselves they shouldn't. It's not logical. It's emotional self-defense. And until you understand what's really happening under the surface, his actions will always feel confusing, unfair, and painful. But there's something powerful in knowing why he's cold, because once you understand what triggers his ego and what it's trying to hide, you stop reacting out of fear. You start seeing the man behind the mask. And that's when everything starts to make sense. Because every time a man grows distant, it's never random. It's a reflection of one of three truths, three things he can't say, but his behavior will always reveal. Let's uncover the three truths that make a man's ego pull away when everything starts to feel too real. Because when you understand these, you'll see that his distance isn't rejection. It's fear wearing a mask of indifference. The first truth: a man's ego confuses comfort with danger. When a woman gets close, emotionally close, it wakes something up in him that he doesn't fully understand. For most men, love doesn't feel safe at first. It feels like exposure, like standing in front of someone who can now see every flaw, every insecurity, every weakness he's tried to hide his whole life. You see, men grow up learning that to be strong means to be untouchable, to never depend on anyone, to stay in control. But real connection breaks that illusion. It makes him feel seen, and being seen, to a man who's been taught to hide, feels like losing power. So when you get close enough to touch parts of him no one else has, his doubts, his fears, his softness, his ego sounds the alarm. It tells him, you're getting too close. If she sees who you really are, she'll stop respecting you. And that's when he starts to pull away. He's not rejecting you. He's trying to protect himself from a feeling he doesn't know how to handle: vulnerability. That's why some men suddenly become distant after intimacy or after deep emotional connection. It's not that he doesn't care. It's that caring exposes him. The second truth: a man's ego mistakes emotional pressure for failure. When a woman starts to want more consistency, more reassurance, more presence, most men hear that as, you're not enough, even if that's not what you're saying. Because deep down, his biggest fear isn't losing you, it's disappointing you. Men crave respect the way women crave emotional connection. So the moment he feels like he's failing you, even in small ways, his instinct isn't to try harder, it's to retreat. Because in his mind, silence is safer than admitting he's not meeting your expectations. You might think he doesn't care, but often he's drowning in self-judgment. He tells himself, she deserves someone better, or, I'm not ready for this kind of woman. And to protect his pride, he'll pull away before you can confirm those fears. That's why you'll notice men become cold right after something emotional, after you open up, after a small argument, after you ask for clarity. His ego interprets that moment as proof that he's messing up, and instead of communicating, he hides behind distance. He doesn't realize that his silence hurts more than the truth ever could. But to him, silence means safety. The third truth: a man's ego runs from emotions he can't control. When a man truly starts to feel something deep, that kind of emotion that shakes his logic, he panics, because he's spent his whole life being told not to feel. So when you make him feel too much, desire, affection, fear of losing you, his mind looks for ways to turn it off. That's why he acts cold when he still cares. That's why he stops texting even when he misses you. That's why he pretends he's fine while he's fighting every urge to reach out. He's not running from you. He's running from the version of himself he becomes when he's vulnerable. Because in his mind, emotions equal weakness, and weakness equals loss of control. So he hides behind logic. He tells himself he's not ready for something serious. He convinces himself that he needs space. But deep down, what he really needs is emotional safety, something his ego doesn't know how to accept. And here's the most important part. These three truths don't mean he doesn't care. They mean he's scared. Scared to be seen, scared to fail, scared to lose control. But the more he runs from those fears, the colder he becomes. Until one day, you stop chasing him. And that silence hits him harder than anything else ever could. Because when a woman stops trying to understand, stops over-explaining, stops begging for connection, That's when he realizes what his ego cost him. That's when the armor cracks, and for the first time he feels the full weight of what he's lost. That's how the male ego learns, not through pressure, not through chasing, but through absence. Because only when his ego no longer feels in control does his heart finally wake up. When a man's ego starts to pull away, your reaction determines everything. Because the moment he goes cold, the dynamic silently shifts. And whether you realize it or not, every move you make from that point forward either restores your power or gives it away completely. Most women do what feels natural. They try to fix it. They reach out more. They ask questions. They try to reconnect. They think that if they just show him enough care, enough patience, he'll snap out of it and return to how he used to be. But that's exactly what his ego wants. Confirmation that he's still in control. Because when you chase a man who's being distant, you don't just feed his ego. You soothe it. You tell him, without words, that he can pull away and you'll still be there. That no matter how cold he gets, you'll wait. And in that moment, he doesn't have to face his fears or his mistakes or his emotions. He can just hide behind the illusion of control, because you're still chasing the version of him that disappeared. But when you do the opposite, when you stop explaining yourself, stop overgiving, stop begging for clarity, something inside him breaks. Because silence for a man is louder than any message you could ever send. It creates a mirror, and suddenly, he has to face his own reflection. He starts to wonder why you stopped reaching out, why your energy shifted, why the woman who once tried so hard now sounds calm, collected, almost detached. And that calmness terrifies his ego, because the truth is, a man's ego thrives on being needed, on feeling irreplaceable, on believing he still has your attention. But when your silence replaces your words, when your peace replaces your questions, his mind begins to unravel. He checks your social media, wondering if you've moved on. He replays old conversations, trying to understand when you changed. And for the first time, he feels the thing he's been running from all along, emotional discomfort. That discomfort is what forces growth, because no man evolves when he feels safe in his ego. He only evolves when he realizes that his ego can't protect him from losing something real. You see, the moment he senses your emotional withdrawal, two things happen. First, his pride tries to convince him that he doesn't care. But second, and stronger, his heart begins to whisper, "You lost her because of your silence." And that's when his behavior starts to change. He'll test the waters, maybe send a small message. He'll say he's been thinking about you, that he misses the connection, that he didn't mean to pull away. But deep down, what he's really saying is, "My ego lost control, and I'm scared you're gone for good." Here's the hard truth most women never hear. You cannot outlove a man's ego into healing. You can only let your absence teach him what your presence couldn't. When you stop chasing, not as a game but as a choice for your peace, you create a space his ego can't fill. And in that silence, he's left alone with the truth he's been avoiding. That the emotional distance wasn't power, it was fear. That pushing you away didn't protect him, it broke him. Because the ego can survive attention, arguments, even rejection, but it can't survive being ignored. It can't survive a woman who learned her worth is not up for negotiation. And when he finally realizes that, everything he thought made him feel powerful starts to collapse. The coldness, the silence, the pride, they no longer feel like control. They feel like loss. And that's when the man behind the ego starts to wake up. That's when he finally sees what you've known all along. That love isn't about control, it's about courage. The courage to feel, to admit fear, to show up even when it's uncomfortable. And if he's ready to face that, he'll come back differently. But if he's not, your silence will be the lesson his ego never forgets. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she finally stops asking, "Why did he change?" and starts asking, "Why did I keep trying to prove my worth to someone who couldn't see it?" That's the moment everything shifts. Because you stop reacting to his silence and start responding to your own peace. You stop waiting for him to wake up and start realizing that you were the one who was awake all along. When a man grows cold, it's never really about you. It's about the war between his ego and his emotions. A war he's been fighting long before you came into his life. You just happened to be the mirror that showed him what he didn't want to see. And that's why your role was never to fix him. It was to reflect him, to make him confront the parts of himself he keeps hiding behind pride, behind silence, behind logic, Because love doesn't disappear when he turns cold. It just changes form. It turns into lessons, strength, boundaries, and wisdom. You don't have to chase someone who's emotionally unavailable. You don't have to prove that you're worthy of effort. The right man, the one who has faced his own ego and made peace with his fears, won't need to play cold to feel in control. He'll see your calmness as a sign of strength, not indifference. He'll match your peace instead of testing it. So the next time a man suddenly grows distant, don't panic, don't chase, don't overthink every little silence. Because his coldness isn't the end, it's information. It's the moment when his ego is louder than his heart, and your silence becomes the only voice that he can still hear. And when he finally realizes what he's lost, the warmth, the loyalty, the softness, the effort, he'll understand something no one ever told him, that the strongest woman is the one who knows when to stop trying. Because that's the moment his ego feels something it can't control, regret. And while regret won't always bring him back, it will always bring you forward into a version of yourself that no longer confuses silence with love or distance with depth. You'll see clearly that you were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong man. And when that realization hits, the cold no longer hurts. It frees you, because you finally understand the most powerful truth of all, that real love doesn't fear vulnerability, doesn't hide behind pride, and doesn't need to play games to feel safe. The right man won't go cold when things get deep. He'll go deeper with you. He won't need to protect his ego. He'll protect your connection. And when you meet him, you'll know. Because for the first time, you won't have to question if he cares. You'll feel it. So take a deep breath. Stop overthinking what went wrong. His silence was never a reflection of your value. It was a reflection of his fear. And now you have the one thing his ego never will: peace. If this message spoke to your heart, share it. Because somewhere another woman is blaming herself for a man's distance, and when the truth is she was never the problem. She was the mirror.